Alright, so since this is the first one, bear with me. When we meet, no, it's right in front of me. We met on August 4th, and we talked about 4244 Academy Street, which was an unsafe garage. The co-host comes in with pictures and they show what's going on. They voted to condemn that as an unsafe building, and their landowner is going to be working with the codes department to get the structure down in a timely manner. 360, 362 Main Street, right now by the post office, was some shrubs that the city had to cut back. The owner didn't realize that they were blocking the view, and so when codes came through, they had to cut down, trim back, which I forgot that was even a street as you come up out of the post office. It's best kept secret in Oneonta, it's actually a street. And then 23 Cedar Street was some trash removal. It was out on the curb for a while, and the bad thing is our city code director seems to walk by there all the time, so that was, I think I caught on that, but that was removed.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have any questions for Scott on the Board of Public Utilities? No? All right. Well, thank you very much, Scott. And that was your first report, huh?
For that very quick.
All right. Moving on to the Environmental Board and Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. The Environmental Board met August 9th this past week. However, they did not have a quorum. However, they did have some informal discussion. They do have some further movement on the green purchasing kind of guidelines. I'm going to say guidelines rather than policies, more guidelines. They certainly very interested in feedback from city staff in terms of what's feasible, what to work on, and I'll be, they're going to kind of officially discuss that at the September meeting, but I'll be getting that out, and I've already got some earlier versions out to Administrator Matthijs. And also they're going to be bringing forward some recommendations about tree code, and that's part of our Tree City USA kind of agreement to have a tree code, and they've been vetting that, so that will be come forward at some point soon, and that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mark? No? Oh, again, thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, moving on then to our committee reports, and we have one, and that would be our Finance and Human Resources Committee. Councilmember Carson.
Thank you, Mayor. We met August 8th. And from that meeting, the consent agenda on tonight's agenda is motions 5 through 10. We'll try and handle any of the questions that the council members have. Yes, sir.
Is it okay to make a comment?
Comment? Sure.
I just wanted to thank...
Positive.
With that, I just wanted to thank Greg and Chris. Yesterday they took time out of their schedule to meet with several residents from Gardner Place, and were able to listen to their concerns about the proposed reconstruction. I think it put a lot of their concerns at ease, or at the very least help inform them a little bit better about what's going on. So I appreciate both your time, and we're here for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. So appreciate the time. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Lynn on the Finance and Human Resources? All right. In that case, we will move on to our city administrator's report. Your thunder having been somewhat stolen.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll start off with employment opportunities. We still have 2 vacancies in the DPW Streets crew. Prefer a CEO, but we'll train the right candidate, so we will hire anything from a heavy equipment operator to a motor equipment operator to a maintenance worker, depending on the qualifications of the individual. We're also seeking a full-time buildings and grounds maintenance worker in our buildings and grounds crew. We've extended the application deadline through August 26th for a police officer. The exam is still scheduled for September 17th. We're still looking for part-time bus drivers. Obviously, college is coming back in session shortly, and we'll be needing more drivers to handle all routes. We have a part-time labor position in OPT. This is a bus cleaning position. It's got evening and flexible hours, so it's good for someone who's just looking to pick up some extra hours. We're still looking for either a transit working supervisor or a transit coordinator, depending on qualifications. And as you know, we're looking for a human resources director. We hope to advertise positions soon. I've sent a confidential email to the council, a little bit of background on that. Once we get the details sorted out, we'll be advertising for that. West Street paving this week and next should be completed on time, which is great. Also milling and paving State Street and Cliff Street this week. We have large water meter testing scheduled for this week and next. Tree trim and removal bid to be advertised next week. The upper reservoir level, Stan Schaefer, our chief water operator, and his crew keep a close eye on that. Obviously with the drought that's occurring across the country in places, it's currently down 65 inches thereabouts. We have an emergency water plan that's in place that identifies the levels at which we take certain actions. If that level falls to 74 inches below normal level, our first action would be to notify the Board of Public Service, which then, according to the plan, would issue a water emergency, water supply emergency, notify the mayor, and would request the public to voluntarily implement water conservation measures. There's further steps after that as you go further down. And certainly, we keep everyone up to date as that changes. Hopefully, we'll get a little more rain beforehand. City's received its $3.8 million bond issuance. I believe that was for the West Street project and the 9th Street Link project. So we have that money in hand. June sales tax totaled $472,000 and change, just about the same as last year's total. Year to date, we're $62,000 ahead of last year. New York State and ESD has received the city's intent to apply and has subsequently invited the city to apply, which is a step in this particular grant application process. Invited us to apply for a Restore New York grant. This is an economic development grant program. This would be for what they call a special project, which would be at 27 Market Street. You may recall we have an existing 2017 or 2015 Restore New York grant for demolition. It's not enough based on our current estimate. We're applying to get enough money to cover the entire cost of that project. The special project would be to redevelop with a mixed-use building. We don't have a developer identified that's come forward and said we'd like to do a particular project, but with this opportunity, certainly we can apply with or without a developer being committed. And if we're able to get this is obviously going to be a big carrot to attract a developer part of it. Purchase the property and redevelop it as we would like to do. We can apply for up to $12 million overall, and we'll be deadline is mid-October for that, so we'll be submitting that application. That was all I had. So, any questions?
Question? Yes, Glenn.
Mr. Greger, with regards to Maryland and the other residents on Cypress Terrace, we've had a few weeks to kind of plan it. Can you just kind of go over what you're thinking now of how we're going to approach this issue?
So as I said, she's working with Judy about grant applications. That's the long-term plan is to replace the water mains there. Well, just to clarify, when Chris mentioned relining, the process would be cleaning the interior of the main and relining, so we'll be regaining that capacity and lost through the construction. So it wouldn't be further construction, just to clarify. That would be a decision that's made in the design process. So if and when we authorize this project to go forward, regardless of where the funding is coming from, we hire a design consultant engineer. So we design it in-house ourselves. We use some of the projects in-house. That's to be determined. But part of that would be determining what is the best solution there. Is it a structural relining and cement lining, or is it full replacement? Regardless, I think the end result would be satisfactory. It'd be the same. So our current practice, I think every week, 2 weeks or so, I'm not sure the exact frequency, we are flushing those mains. That's
Every day.
Is it every day? Is that on a night schedule? I'm not going to dispute
It's
that.
on a timer right opposite my house.
Joe says it's intended to be, and I didn't know the exact frequency, but that's what we've set up. We've been monitoring and dealing with the situation up there. On some parts, overlook at Ross Terrace for, half of my career now, a little longer than that. That's necessary in order to maintain a more consistent water quality. We were getting, as you know, complaints about the water quality, cloudiness, coming out, groundwater, red water. And in order to maintain that more consistently, we need to have that periodic flush. We can let it sit, and then we'll get those periodic complaints. And we certainly are sympathetic and understanding the concern about water conservation, as I just said, for possibly having conservation measures themselves. But there really isn't a better option other than rehabilitating or replacing the line, which obviously costs money and it takes a little bit of time to plan and implement that.
Good. Any other questions or comments for Greg?
Now, can't you bond it instead of waiting for a grant that may never happen?
That's a possibility. Part of the discussion that we have every year at the council level and budget time is our ability to bond, how much we can afford to make in bond payments, and how much we can afford to budget in our operating budget. We're not in a position to pay for this project out of our operating budget. Definitively. Yes, we could look to bonds, but the city's water fund is now in a great position, and that's why we've been increasing our water sales 10% the last few years, and we're talking about possibly doing that again this year. That's part of the budget process. I'm not going to lie, that's an option, but that's not something that we're considering right now because we have options to get state and federal grants that will help us stretch those dollars further. We really have to be prudent in maximizing our dollars because we don't have any accounts to put it for.
Thank you very much, Greg. All right, Mayor's remarks. I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity to say that I attended, along with several city staff, which was wonderful to see, and about 3 dozen members of the community, various institutions, organizations, a summit at SUNY Oneonta for our community wellness committee and their aspirations to plug some of the gaps, plug some of the holes in the support services that are being offered around the various wellness issues, including homelessness in the city. And I'd like to just turn over my time to Councilmember Davies, who's the chair of that group, and I'll let you and your group members, Luke and Emily, chime in. If you could tell folks what we saw today.
Sure, Mayor, thank you. First, I want to start by thanking both Luke and Emily. They were huge in terms of getting us together. This was a big endeavor. There's a lot of things that were done behind the scenes, and they were huge, so thank you both for that. I'd also like to thank Councilmember Carson, Councilmember LaCroix Shue, City Administrator Tice, Mayor Drenick, and some of our chiefs, our fire chief, police chief were there as well, so thanks for attending. I'm sorry, Judy. Golly, Judy, my apologies. Thanks, everyone. Didn't miss anybody else, right?
I think you got it.
Okay. So yeah, we basically were trying to dive in and understand a little bit more the issues that Mayor mentioned, homelessness, and I can no longer say, what is the word we say now?
Substance use.
Substance use. People that are struggling with substance use, and then also
It's been a long day. Homelessness.
Shelter, no shelter? Is that the word?
no, that was
Substance use and
mental illness.
mental illness.
Bottom line is we had a real robust discussion. We had quite a bit of community partners representing both organizations within the city and organizations within the county. In fact, we had organizations from different counties as well, which was really great to hear what other counties are doing and what other agencies in other counties are doing. We felt that what we were striving to do is try to bring to light some of the issues, the causes, the kind of the different issues that are here and what's causing those, the drivers behind it, and then what are some of the gaps in the services, ultimately to try to arrive at a place where we are going to begin to have some action steps out of it. We did come up with some action steps, some are kind of immediate. I think we still need to work on a little bit how we're going to kind of move those ahead, because there's a room full of people that are all knee deep or kind of head deep in their agencies and doing a lot of important work, and try to squeeze some more time out of them is difficult. But it's clear that everyone wanted to maintain the conversation, continue the conversation, and continue to figure out how we're going to work together to address these problems. So I came out of that frankly pretty hopeful about things. I think the committee, we all need to sit down and kind of have some thoughts about next steps and kind of really debrief some of the different things that were discussed. Councilmember Falco kept copious, by the way, beautiful notes. Her handwriting is unbelievable. That's why I didn't keep those notes. And so we had a kind of poster board of notes, and Luke and I were keeping also notes. I think between those two, we should be able to kind of come up with a good review that will send out to all the participants and get to all of you as well. And we'll hopefully have some good action forward. Mayor, is there anything else you'd like me to address, or is that covered?
No, I think you did wonderfully. In fact, I think you guys did wonderfully today, as well as the charge of the Community Wellness Committee, as we've discussed any number of times in meetings, is so vast. And the idea that you were able now you've met through 7 months, so whatever the math on this, maybe 15 meetings you've had, if that, no, probably less than that, you have distilled to a level where there are action items that are clear, and as it'll take you most likely a few days to digest everything that you shared with you today, I have a lot of faith that this is going to move forward in a very positive way for our community. So thank you very much for your efforts.
Yeah. Could I take one more moment, Mayor? My apologies. One thing I will say, just to kind of, well, we have a bit of an audience here, hopefully an audience online. One of the big action items that came out was the need for a warming shelter, because the warming shelter roof caved in, and as of about October 1st, October 15th, you never know around here, we're going to need facilities to be able to take care of folks that are struggling with, especially in those cold nights. So there's a group of folks that are working actively on that, but they certainly need help. If there's a building that we can identify, or they can identify that might be able to serve in this capacity, it would be helpful. So if anybody happens to know of anything, certainly get in contact with any of the members of the committee, and we can get you in contact with the folks that are kind of spearheading, trying to find a replacement building for this winter time.
Okay.
Yeah, the only additional thing that I would share is that their need is 1,200 square feet or more.
1,200 square feet, bathrooms, and it'd be great if they were able to have laundry facility to be able to wash linens. There's people that are coming and using that.
But they said they could put it in.
Yeah,
Sorry, not to interrupt.
they can put it in.
Water and bathrooms.
Water and bathrooms.
1,200 square feet.
But that is a priority, absolutely. So again, thank you all for your efforts today. And with that, we will move to our agenda, our consent agenda. So, motion number 1, that the Common Council approves the minutes of the regular meeting held August 2nd, 2022. Motion number 2, that the Common Council approves the minutes of the special meeting held August 2nd, 2022. Motion number 3, that the Common Council approves the minutes of the special meeting held August 11th, 2022. Motion number 4, that the Common Council approves the warrants totaling $1,422,906.10, and that the same be placed on the Director of Finance's desk for payment as presented. Motion number 5, that the Common Council approves the purchasing agent's recommendation to award the request for proposal RFP for the professional services for the City of Oneonta Housing Conditions Assessment to the most qualified bidder, Doma Development Consultants, in the amount of $52,000. This will be funded by the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG 847CP24-20, requiring a local match of $2,700, as approved by the Common Council on July 6, 2021. Motion number 6, that the Common Council authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement addendum dated June 29, 2022, with the Mary Imogene Bassett Hospital, DBA Bassett Medical Center Occupational Health Services, for the provision of certain occupational, medical, and health services as presented. Motion number 7, that the Common Council appoints Scott Kellogg to a position of Senior Water Treatment Plant Operator at a base salary of $47,059, CSEA grade 13, effective August 17, 2022, subject to the satisfaction of all applicable civil service requirements. Motion number 8, that the Common Council approves the following resolution. Whereas competitive bids have been solicited and accepted for Gardner Place reconstruction project, and whereas it is necessary to establish funding sources and budgetary controls for said project, now therefore be it resolved that the project budget and necessary budget amendments and transfers are hereby authorized as follows. Appropriation account H16.5110.210. Appropriation amount $500,000. Funding sources: NYS CHIPS at $322,000 and sewer fund balance at $178,000. Motion number 9, that as a result of competitive bids being solicited and accepted for the Gardner Place reconstruction project, the Common Council approves the purchasing agent's recommendation to award the bid to the lowest responsive qualified bidder, R.B. Robinson Contracting, Incorporated, of Candor, New York, in the amount of $433,907.05. And motion number 10, that the Common Council approves the following resolution. Whereas the City of Oneonta desires to apply for up to $500,000 in financial assistance through the Community Development Block Grant Program, and whereas the application proposes funding to assist in the replacement of water services in residences primarily occupied by low to moderate income households, and whereas the program requires no local match on behalf of the city, now therefore be it resolved that Mark Drenick, Mayor of the City of Oneonta, is hereby authorized and directed to file an application for funds from the New York State Office of Community Renewal through its Community Development Block Grant Program, and upon approval of said request to enter into and execute a project agreement with the state for such financial assistance to the City of Oneonta, and that the Common Council further authorizes the mayor to order any necessary budget amendments and transfers, and to take any actions and to provide any additional information that might be required to implement the proposed programs upon approval from the state, subject to review by the city attorney. Motion number 11. Motion that the Common Council concurs with the mayor's recommendations to appoint the following to city boards and/or commissions. To the Environmental Board, David Ainsworth, with an expiration date on his term of August 16, 2025. For the Public Arts Commission, Catherine Spitzoff, again, an August 16, 2025 expiration date. And also Andrew Vitolo, to that same board, August 16, 2025, that expiration date. And on the Airport Commission, Matt Nissen, August 16, 2025 is the expiration date. To the Examining Board of Plumbers, oh gosh, I'm so sorry about this, Mike Rinkevich. Sorry, Mike. DRNK, August 16th, 2025. To the Planning Commission, Dan Maskin, August 16th, 2025 expiration date. And to the Commission on Community Relations and Human Rights, Shannon McHugh, with an August 16th, 2025 expiration date. And Dr. Franklin Chambers, same date, August 16th, 2025. Are there any items to be removed? Luke. Number 1, please. Number 1. Number 11. Yes, sir. 1. The same one. All right. Anybody else? Yes.
Big number 3.
Number 3.
Just have a question.
Okay. Any others? No? All right. In that case, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Luke. So, Katie, followed by Luke.
Councilmember Murphy?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember DeFranco.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Rapkin.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Okay. Right, let's take these in order, so we'll go with motion number 3, and I believe that.
So,
Motion.
Oh, so, do we have a motion to approve? Thank you, thank you. Discussion? No discussion? Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
sorry, I was not in attendance at this meeting, but I did watch through YouTube. I just didn't know what the protocol was, if I should, because part of the meeting I couldn't watch on YouTube, but I do kind of know what happened. So I don't know if I should abstain from this, or if I can approve it.
Let me give you the cant. The answer is any alderman can vote anytime as to approve any minutes whether they're in attendance or not. Some people feel comfortable doing that, some people don't feel comfortable doing that. However, it's totally up to you.
Okay.
There's no legal or illegal way.
Okay.
It's just how you feel most comfortable.
Okay, all right. I feel comfortable approving them. For the record.
Any further discussion? Take the vote.
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember DeFranco.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Rapkin.
Yes.
Councilmember Butler.
Aye.
All right, so motion number 11, do we have a motion to approve? So we have Luke, followed by Mark, thank you very much, Wayne, and discussion is Luke, can you pull this?
Yeah, just two quick things. One, I just wanted to say I've had the pleasure of working with Shannon McHugh and Dr. Franklin Chambers for almost 3 years now, and I'm very excited to vote with the affirmative for them. And I guess just taking a cue from Katie, I'm just curious, is everybody on here a city resident, do you know?
We have one who is not correct, Catherine Stefan.
Yeah.
Who is being reappointed
Okay.
to the board, continue to file your vote to do so.
I'm happy to speak to her positive impact that she's had on the Public Arts Commission so far. I really hope that, everyone here would vote the affirmative for her. She has taken the lead on a lot of projects and really helped move things along. So I think she's a great addition. And she does work at SUNY Oneonta, so in the Fine Arts Department. So she is an Oneonta artist who doesn't reside in the community. Yeah. But thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. I don't typically have an issue with it, as long as folks contribute to it on the outside, I'm happy to vote for them.
Further discussion?
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember DeFranco.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Rapkin.
Yes.
Councilmember Butler.
Aye.
And that takes us to our agenda. Is there an additional business we go? Yes.
So, this isn't even my word, but somebody that lives in there brought it up. I don't know if it makes someone out for State Street for their repaving, but they weren't aware of it and ended up being late for work. And so I don't know if it makes someone out. I don't remember seeing one, but then again, so I just thought I'd bring it up. And then, I have another question for you. I can't remember what it is, I guess. Doesn't matter.
Any other council discussion? Yes.
Madam Bell brings up a good point that she stated earlier tonight, and that was, have we been making contact with our New York State elected officials? Judy's raising her hand back there.
Can I take that? No, not on the water project, because the funding that's available is available based on the project, what type of project, how it scores, and what type of funding there is. It really, a legislator has really no impact in this particular process. There are certainly other projects, there are other types of funding where that comes into play, and it's very helpful. But the water and sewer infrastructure funding through the state is very, very, it's based on a formula pretty much. It's very straightforward, and legislative impact, or pressure really does not have any play in that. I did want to clarify what I emailed to you today. I have not submitted a grant application for this project yet. We have submitted the project so that it's on the state's intended use plan, which is a document that lists water projects that are ready to go. So you're either on the annual list, so they can fund you in that particular funding cycle, which for this period will be October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. That listing allows us then to do the next steps, which is the WIA application, which is going to be due in September. It's also going to get us in play for the bipartisan infrastructure law funding, which is federal funding, coming into this state funding. And tomorrow, the draft intended use plan will be out, they're telling me, and that's going to have information about how that bill funding will work. They haven't put it out yet, so we don't know yet how it's going to work. We've been told initially that we should be eligible for up to $5 million in any given year for the next 5 years for various projects that we put in. So that's all I know today. Tomorrow I'll know more.
Well, we did speak with Brian Miller. He is running for Assembly representing the city of Oneonta, and he did actually come to Marilyn and her husband's house the other day. It was nice to hear that he has an actual interest in our water quality. He related a story that he's helped the community of Ilion go from similar situations. We actually showed colors of water in a plastic bottle, and he said, this is exactly the same type of bottle that I used. And he said, I was such a strong advocate that he said, I ended up having the governor. And he did talk about the politics. He goes, he says, I don't care if you're a D, an R, an I, or C. He says, we have an issue and we need to get it corrected. And so it was good to hear from Brian at Marilyn's home the other day to say that he is ready and willing, if elected in November, to help us out. So just thought I'd add that.
Yes, Mayor, it's a little late, I'm sorry, it's a different topic, but I just had a text from a constituent who said they cannot hear the sound of this particular meeting.
At the beginning of the meeting, that was an issue, but it's been corrected since.
Great, thank you, Gary.
I got one too, Mark.
We could redo
We
this.
fixed it.
Let's get from the top. Any other discussion? Yes, Scott.
Greg, I remember what I was going to ask about. That was NICEAG. We're going to have, see about getting a meeting with NICEAG because of maybe some preventive maintenance and stuff like that, with tree trimming because of all the power outages in the 6th Ward. I don't know if we haven't made contact with them yet to be able to have a sit down or...
Yeah, actually, we had a meeting with NICEAG. They actually reached out to us to set up a meeting. We met with the president of NICEAG and President Avangrid, which is a parent company of NICEAG. There's 9 total companies that Avangrid owns. They came in and just to introduce themselves, and they're both new to their roles. We also had the regional manager, I guess, for not knowing his exact title, for the Oneonta division of NICEAG. They were here, we talked about those issues. We had various department heads, including the fire chief, Chris, she was there as well for Public Works, and Judy was there. We talked about our concerns. We discussed the idea of electrification that's been talked about a lot at the state level. NICEAG's going through a rate case, or entering into that now, where that's going to be a big part of their future plans. So it was more generalities that we were talking about. We did give some specific examples of issues that we've had with the electrical outages and what they're doing to address that. They're going to be focusing on building resiliency in their system. We did get a chance to meet with them to answer your question, and I think it was a good conversation. We've got some contact information, and should hopefully build a good relationship going forward.
Yeah, thanks.
So to piggyback on this though, did the senior management say that they were going to be more proactive and do more tree clearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was one of the things. Sorry, they did. They do want. They mentioned that they're one of the only utilities that does not have within their rate case currently tree trimming and maintenance portion of their budget. So they use it in that. And that's their thing.
Good. Any other council discussion? All right, correspondence?
You have another item for council discussion.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And All right, we do have another item for council discussion. This. Okay. So, right? Anyway, original dedication of the Brenner Recreation Building was by proclamation, resolution proclamation by common council back in '97. This is the building that is essentially by Hodges Pond. You're all familiar. At this point, now personnel is down there, and we've got, it's become an office building. We'd like to have it rededicated as the Brenner Building, correct? And so I'm going to read what's been put in front of me here. Use of this facility has changed, and with the now complete work done at the building and in honor of Mayor Brenner, city staff would like to not only hold a rededication ceremony, currently scheduled for September 2nd, 2022, after consultation with members of Mayor Brenner's family, and would also like this dedication to the Brenner Building in consideration of its actual use now. So we have a motion, if you'd like to hear. Motion that the common council, in continued appreciation and gratitude for 12 years of careful leadership by Mayor David Brenner, authorizes the rededication of the Brenner Recreation Building in a ceremony to be held on September 2nd, 2022. The common council further authorizes the renaming of the facility to the Brenner Building to better describe the use and functionality of the facility. So do I have a motion to approve? Mark, and do I have a second, Scott? And discussion.
We have a date, but
September 2nd.
I believe it was 10 o'clock that I can follow up with. I believe the intent was to do some building tours at the beginning, ceremony, and then follow up with a brief reception.
Further discussion?
Councilmember Murphy? Aye. Councilmember Dean?
Yes.
Councilmember DeFranco? Aye. Councilmember Crespi?
yes.
Councilmember Henningsen?
Yes.
Councilmember Rafford?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell? Aye. Please.
That takes us to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
I have no correspondence.
We have no correspondence. Is there a need for an executive session? There is no need for an executive session, in which case, our call is adjourned.